Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, being a part of FCI Live 2024. This is our last session in the series. We are going to miss you all. This has been so much fun, but man, we saved a good one for the very end. We have Allanah Hines of Weaver Street Market back with us. If you saw her, she opened the series and did a terrific session, and she's come back with a really, I think one you guys are really going to enjoy on community fueling cooperatives. So you're in for a treat, and we're going to get started with her in just a minute. Real quick, we do want to thank our champion sponsors for this FCI Live series, Illuminate and National Co-op Grocers. They have made this series possible, and we are really grateful to them. All right, I'm going to give Allanah just a second to set up her slides. And in the meantime, say, anyone here, if you want to raise your hands or digitally or in the chat, did anyone hear Alannah's first session? Were you guys here for that? Yeah. Okay, I see some few hands. It was excellent, right? All right. So Allanah came to me and I said, well, would you be interested in presenting? And she brought me a list of seven terrific, amazing ideas that I could not pick from. So I made her pick, but I'm so glad we're wrapping up with this one. This one is just going to be, I mean, if you heard her first session, she's inspiring. She'll make you really care about cooperatives, remember why you do it. And I'm going to hand it over to her now to introduce herself and take the stage.
All right, so I am going to share my screen. I actually just lost where it was.
It always does that.
I really just had it. Oh my gosh. Remind me what that is.
You need a minute? Are you good?
I lost my share screen.
I don't know.
Oh,
the button, you mean? Did you find it?
Back.
Okay.
I'm back in business.
Okay. All right.
Here we go. Okay, so I want to start first of all by just thanking everybody for coming, thanking FCI. This opportunity itself is rich, especially coming from Weaver Street Market, having been with Weaver Street Market for so long, and just getting to talk more about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it in a way that makes sense. Hold on, I'm going to stop the screen share just a minute so it's actually in present mode. But as I'm going, I'll actually, I really just want to share my thanks with JQ for making this project seamless, which to me, I never knew could ever happen. And so, yeah, let me get back. I'm not sure why I'm having these technical difficulties today. It's just that kind of day.
That's just the way it always goes.
Right? I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see if I can do both at the same time.
Anything you need an assist on, or you got it? Oh, let's see what's happening here. Your screen's coming.
Here we go. Oh, but we're not at the beginning.
We're not, but hey, it's all you have to do now is tab back. You're okay.
Here. All right, we're back. So for anyone that does not know about me, I'll tell just a little bit about myself. My name is Allanah Hines. I work with Weaver Street Market. I am in operations. I am the manager of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in the board role, I'm actually the board chair. So we are a hybrid cooperative for many reasons. Definitely reach out if you have questions about that. And then just in life, I'm in North Carolina. I work remote, and I essentially just work with the community every single day, which is the fun part. Weaver Street Market itself is coming up on its 36th birthday. We have 4 retail locations, and we have a commissary kitchen, a bread bakery, and a pastry bakery. So we're big in a lot of different ways, but we've also been around for 36 years, which is why I enjoy spaces like this where I can speak with up-and-coming co-ops, with people at so many different starting levels, and then also with co-ops that have been in the game for a while. Essentially tonight, which is why I'm very excited that I'm coming at the very end, but I've also seen so many of the other conversations and I'm thinking that's hard. These are tough acts to follow, to be completely honest. I hope that people have had the opportunity to sit in on other conversations to see exactly what's going on. This is a very invigorating conversation happening in co-op world. So I'm hoping to bring it all together, to put a bow on it. Maybe not the prettiest bow, depending on the conversation. I want it to be a bit of a rough and tough kind of bow. I want it to not make complete sense because I really don't want any of this conversation to end right here. So tonight, beneath the fantastic title, Community Fuels Co-ops, we're essentially talking about why are you building a co-op? What are you doing? So we've had the conversations about governance, about media, about the tangibles, about selecting your site location, about what does your community need and how can we put it into a building, into a grocery store. And then we've also had the conversation of the intangibles. So what are you doing this for? Why are you doing this hard work? Why are you here today at 7 p.m. Eastern to talk about community and cooperatives? And how can you actually incorporate this into your work in a way that's going to be meaningful? I know, and I will say, I appreciated a lot of the feedback from the first webinar that I gave, because I did hear a lot of people say, yeah, these are really great examples, but it doesn't look like the co-op that I'm trying to build. That excited me, because the co-op identity, the large conversation of the co-op identity, looks quite monocultural, quite honestly. So it's more exciting when we say, what does a co-op look like that I am going to build that's going to reflect my community? And I understand I have to do a capital campaign and a pro forma and all of these financial things and figure out where it's going to be. But what does it mean to bring it in and to actually incorporate the community? That's what we're going to go through tonight. So as I get started, we're going to start with Happy Black History Month, because that's what it is. It is Black History Month. I'm so excited also because I'm presenting on February 1st, and that just excites me, especially talking about co-ops and cooperation. So the quote that I have here is, I was walking through Harvard Yard in the evening, and a Black woman I did not know was passing me on the sidewalk. She leaned over, and as we crossed, she said, persevere. The minute I read that, I loved it. This is inclusion. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, this is inclusion. This is a complete stranger finding community and saying, I see you, persevere. This quote is Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is on the Supreme Court. If you do not know this lady, please look her up. Please read her backstory. Please read everything about her, down to the questions that she was asked and her poise and her presence and how hard she worked to get to where she is. I brought her up also to bring up, there's a lot of history that's just not brought to the top, that's not spoken of. More feedback that I got from my first webinar, which I'm also so excited because I started with the Rochdale Pioneers, which everybody knows. That's fantastic. It's time to talk about the people that are doing the work and reflecting the communities that we know are there. They're doing this hard work. What does it look like for what you're doing? So continuing with Black History Month, I'm also going to take this opportunity to elevate two of our vendors that I absolutely love. One is Bright Black Candles. So if you've heard me speak in any other conversations, you've probably heard me talk about diversifying the food supply chain, which is near and dear to my heart. This is my why. This is why I do the work that I do. I work for a co-op. I can also go to my general manager and say, I want to see myself on the shelf. I want to see people that look like me, people that live down the street. I want to see people that are producing with a purpose. So I bring up Bright Black Candles quickly to say, I oftentimes get the question of, oh my goodness, we don't have vendors around us that reflect the community. Where do you get these products? Who do you talk to? Bright Black Candles is a perfect example. They're located in Durham, North Carolina. They're actually about 25 minutes from me. They're a Black couple that essentially just decided they wanted to make candles that represented them, but also were not a dirty burn. Dirty burn, a lot of the large industries, they have candles. I don't know if you've ever burned them, but it essentially, it fills the room in 2 or 3 minutes. This particular couple decided we want something that our daughter can enjoy, and we want something that smells natural. I invite everybody to go to their website. This is just one of their candles. This is Resist. So I need to kind of change the way my lineup shows up. But their definition of Resist is a fragrant ode to resistance that intricate act of defiance behind the compassionate, humane evolution that we all want to see in the world. Sometimes it's a raw and rough rebellion, loud and confronting. Other times, though, it can be found in the silence and in gentle, comforting deeds. For the self and for others, whatever the form, resistance focuses on that which binds us and makes us whole. I bring this up because one, I love this candle, but two, you could also define a cooperative the same way. It's resistance. Sometimes it's raw and rough and saying, oh my goodness, we're just not going to stand for that. And other times it's existing in the community and being that safe space for people to just exist and gather and know that you're welcome there because it's built by the community. The second vendor that I bring up is Green Heifer Farms. This is Farmer C. This lady is a force to be reckoned with. If you do not know her product, please familiarize yourself with her products, not just the name. This particular one is Resiliency, but everything she does is built on strength and coming together and sharing resources. This particular one she describes as a true testament of resilience, rejuvenation, and fortification, rising from the embers of our cherished herb cabin. Created with unwavering passion and determination, this exceptional blend combines the healing power of hand-selected herbs, including calming passion flower, soothing lemon balm, vibrant butterfly pea flower, and nourishing red clover. This one is actually one of my favorites, but looking at this definition again, that could define a cooperative. It is about passion and determination. You're deciding how you want your cooperative to reflect your community. Without that definition, what is your identity? Without saying, with everything you have, this is who we are and why we're here. I also share these two vendors, one, because they're both Black, two, because they're local to me, three, they ship nationally and internationally. This is how you change your space. When we talk about representation, we talk about going out into your community and talking to people. These are not new businesses, but we didn't have them on our shelves until about 2 years ago. After 4 Black employees came together, including myself, and said, if we're talking about community, if we want to define Weaver Street Market, which at that point had been open for over 30 years, we said, I don't see myself. What does community mean to you? Because it doesn't mean me. Tough conversations, but necessary. I say that because no matter where you are in the process, you can always stand strong and reevaluate your why. Why are you building a cooperative? This isn't easy work. Stand in it. So, why a cooperative? Why not a corporation? I actually asked this question to a lot of people at the last up and coming conference, because why? I mean, you're going to put in some really hard work. You're building from the ground. Corporation, you can go in and you can say, hey, Harris Teeter, which is very big here. Why can't we just franchise and open in my community? Why are you not working with local government to just have transportation to another grocery store? What has had you stand in your purpose and decide this is what we need and this is what I will make happen? You're the organizers. This is what you're doing. So the definition in the dictionary of a cooperative, cooperation, cooperating, that works together or with another or others towards the same end. A corporation, a company or group, so the definition just starts off different. Just everything about it. A corporation, a company or group of companies authorized to act as a single entity, independent of its owners or members and recognized as such in law. It's a big move. It's a big change. So what does a co-op mean to your work? Why are you doing this? What's moving you? So, I don't know why my video just disappeared, but we'll bring it back up. essentially, what is your what if? And this is a question that I will say I ask to my GM just about every 6 months. What are we doing? What's the question that we're answering? Why are we here? Because it doesn't stop even once your doors are open. So, let's say you open tomorrow, you still have to stand true and strong in your why. Why are you doing this work? Why not going corporate? Why not just asking someone else to do it? So hopefully this shows up. Here we go. Oh, nope. I might have to pull down. You know how to play a video within the PowerPoint?
I am not very skilled at these things.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to stop share for just a second and we're going to watch a video. I don't want to give away the question that I want to ask later, but I'm not going to.
I can see you holding back.
Yeah. Don't have a lot of restraint, but I'm going to have it now. All right. So here we go.
Excellent.
So I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring back up some slides. And oh, my computer's being extra special. It's a day. It's been a day. I only wish. Yes, it's been a day. All right. So here we go. Let's see if I can present again. Oh, not presenting. Just 1 second. I'm sorry. This is the
You're
Thursday
okay. You're okay. I'm gonna get into the chat, the video for people. The link to the video, folks would like it.
Yes, yes. I will definitely send some links to the video.
Oh, I'm just getting it now. I'm putting them right in there. I'm taking care of that.
Actually, do that as my computer. It's being fun. I want it to be loading my next slide as it's going. What I'll also do is I'll send you kind of the link to everything that I reference within this, just because there's quite a bit. So in case there are tiny bits in here that you want to make sure that you get, that you can see again, I'll have that as well. Sorry, my computer's loading for some reason. But I'll talk as we're going. So essentially, I show that video, which is created by Better Co-op, which is I was actually just introduced to them maybe 3 weeks ago. But one of the things that I really enjoy is I hear that all the time. We're creating it for members. We're creating it for our community. We're creating it because we want more, because we know that we deserve more. So in doing that, and seeing their video and seeing kind of taking the collective voice of what is it that drives people to build a co-op, it's very interesting, because it keeps you grounded in that work of why are we doing what we're doing. So once this comes up, I'll also say in the last conversations, it was great and fun because I shared a little bit about the Rochdale Pioneers, and now in Black History Month, we're going to talk about other cooperatives that many people, I would hope, have heard a lot about, but likely have not. So here, I share a photo of Black cooperators. I hope that everybody has seen these before, but it may be likely that you haven't. These are the officers of the National Negro Business League, and these are some pretty cool people. I will share some links to some information about them as well. But essentially, this is a group of people in the South during the early 1900s, late 1800s, that came together and said, we also want a grocery store. So at that time, a lot of chain stores were emerging. And if you know anything about American history, they really weren't allowing everybody in. So they were co-ops, but they weren't really co-ops for everybody. So this group came together and they said, well, we want to create a grocery store that challenges the chain, because they weren't receiving the type of food, the variety of food, the prices that they knew that they could obtain. So I love it, one, because this is a story that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of, especially in conversations that I've been a part of, we hear about the Rochdale Pioneers and the things that they did, and all of a sudden it just kind of comes up that other people came up with co-ops, but co-ops don't always look the same. This co-op does not look the same as the Rochdale Pioneers. Another reason I love this group of people is that when they came together and created the Colored Merchants Association as a co-op, the second location that they chose was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I'm in North Carolina. Having lived in North Carolina most of my life, I found out about these folks about 2 or 3 years ago. This is real history. So your co-op has the ability to change history, but don't do it silently. Black history is American history, is world history. Create your co-op as a force of history. When I talk about a why, this is their why. Each of these co-ops has a why. So they said the idea was to pool money for buying products and advertising, and to educate African-American merchants about modern business practices. Goals included increasing stores' profits by improving accounting methods, modernizing store interiors to provide a better shopping experience, and creating greater awareness of the buying power of African Americans. That makes sense. It seems like just what co-ops do every day. So I'm curious from everybody, whether you're just starting a co-op, if it's conceptual, if you're breaking ground tomorrow, or even if you've been in the business for a while, take a moment, type in the chat, what's your why? Why are you doing this work? And I'll share for just a minute my why. I didn't start working at a co-op because I wanted to work at a co-op. I wanted a job. I wanted a place that could pay my bills. And I stayed in a co-op because of the moves that I knew that I could make, because I knew that I could walk into my general manager's office and say, representation is important. And there would be the hard questions of, well, yeah, those candles are really expensive. They outpriced every other candle in anywhere on our shelves by far. And even with that, there was that conversation of, why not? What if we remove the what if? Why do I walk into my own co-op and say, what if we actually sold the candles from the place down the street? What if we created an attribute within our point of sale system that tracked how big of an impact we were making on certain communities? If we wanted to make an impact on Black and brown vendors, if we wanted to make an impact on women-led retail, what if we could do that? And then what if we stopped saying what if? So my why, essentially my everyday, was I go in because of the conversations that I have and the impact I can make, not just on my local community. I challenge that question. Why are we just talking about the 2 counties we're in? I want to make an impact on the state. I want to make an impact with co-ops. I want to show, yes, I can bring in this vendor, but they also vend internationally. So every co-op should have these products. We should, as co-ops, share these products, and they should be the next big thing. I'm going to take a moment here and see if anybody wants to unmute and share their why on co-op. Why be in a co-op or participate with any of this difficult co-op work? You also don't have to.
I'll jump in, Tim from Austin. I did site selection for large chain stores and shopping center companies for years, and just routinely overlooking areas like Austin, and just got tired of helping these big companies make more money. And why not apply the skills locally in a community that needs it? So
I like that. Thank you, Tim. Yeah. Anybody else? What's your why?
I'll go. Amaha was, on the session yesterday, and I think it's akin to, the work around food sovereignty that, I am fighting against the 400 plus years of oppression. But most importantly, I want to do something that heals the trauma that's related to labor and economics for people of African descent. You know, like we have such a painful relationship with work and labor. And I want to reclaim our labor for ourselves and to really do that in a way that repairs the damage that we are that the impact the system is having on us. And I want to do it as a charity. I don't want to do it as part-time. I don't want to do it as a weekend workshop. I want to do it as our everyday practice of taking care of ourselves as well as we heal ourselves and one another.
Yes.
Wow, powerful. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else want to share their why? These are good. I want to see some good questions in here too. Yes. Yeah. I will also say everybody's why is absolutely different. So your why could just be because I just want to feel good. I just want to know at the end of the day that I'm helping somebody else, that it's not extractive. I'm not working for a company that's just taking away from everything. Exactly like Tim said, I have a wealth of knowledge, but I don't like where my knowledge is going. I know that there's promise in the work that I can do. I just have to find the proper space. I want to be around like-minded people that are working towards this cause. I just had the chat up. There were some good responses in the why. So we're getting deep, which is what I love, especially after a conversation, I will say, a conversation about policy governance, about, this is what you need in order to build your co-op. It's oftentimes really difficult to talk about, why are you even doing this? Do you understand what a co-op is and what it takes? What it takes to go out into the community, to talk to people, to genuinely walk out of the door and go to the neighbors and say, if we build a grocery store right here, would you come? If it were a cooperative, would you visit? Do you know what a cooperative is? This is your space. And it's not just you. I was telling JQ even before we all got on here, I love this space because we're not doing this in a silo. This is not just one person. So it's really coming together. And it is saying, my co-op doesn't look like yours. how do we do these things? And it's partnering with the community in a very strategic way. I know I took my chat down and I did see there was a question about essentially about policing. It is that conversation, because it is that conversation. And we've had those conversations within the walls of Weaver Street Market of, oh my goodness, I think this person is doing this thing. And really kind of pulling me in and saying, so why do you think that? Because I know they're not. And what do we do when we call for resources? Who are your resources? So as you're building your co-op, create those resources. Even once your co-op is open, create those resources. If law enforcement is not who you need to call, who do you call? Create resource officers. Talk to your partners. It's not just talking to the people that you want to shop in your store, which to me is so important, but it's talking to your community. Your community it's the people at the homeless shelter. It's the people doing the diaper drives. It's the local schools. It's talking to them and saying, what do you do for food in the summer? What if we create classes? Can we create a partnership that's actually going to make sense to the work that we do, that's actually going to build our community based on where you live, not based on the history that you're told? So, oh, my slides are going extra fast. Oh, here we go. I'm going to break down and build up one more time. I'm going to show you one more video. So this video, I will say, is maybe one of my favorites. And I give it as the main reason I like to show this video is to really encourage, sit yourself in why are you doing this work? And I like to encourage people to genuinely write it down. Take a moment, if you didn't already share your why, share it in the chat, but also write it down. Write it as you talk to your board, write it as you talk to your future GM, write it as you talk to the other organizers. Why are we doing this work? And get into it in a way that feels less than pretty, because it's going to be less than pretty, because you're going against large corporate, and it's going to require the community, and it requires the intangibles of the work that you're doing. So it requires reaching out and saying, Allanah, we tried. We're not getting really positive conversation over here. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to bring up this second video. Hope that it's not too loud.
We didn't hear sound last time. So
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
yeah, I think so. Did anyone else hear sound? No. Okay. That's okay. When you pick it from your share, when you say share screen and it lets you pick, there should be an additional option to share the sound. I don't remember exactly where it pops up. Does anyone else knows? Unmute and help.
It should be at the
Usually at the top.
bottom. It
The
should
bottom?
be-
Bottom.
Well, yeah, the
those
bottom.
bottom two small boxes. Just check those,
Yep.
check those two small
To
boxes.
the left, at the bottom to the left.
We're
Okay.
crowdsourcing here and I'm getting different answers and I got faces saying they don't agree. We're gonna do
If
this.
it's a PC, if it's
The
a
two small
like an
boxes.
Apple, it's gonna be to the left.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna,
bottom left of the share
Yeah,
box.
it depends too if you're on a Mac or a PC. So just, yeah.
I'm on a PC.
At the bottom, you see share and gives you all the different screens. And then at the very bottom, it'll say sound and audio. I mean, visual.
I love, look, this is cooperation.
I know, right?
This is beautiful. So I'll say the last video had subtitles. I will also share that link as well. This video, you have to hear it. You have to. Okay. Please don't hesitate to unmute and speak if you don't hear video on this one, or if you don't hear audio on this one.
So you're a musical director?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now, right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Okay, here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
All right. So, all right. Now we're going to go back to some slides. I'm gonna leave that for a minute there. So I share that video. That may be the 15th time I've shared it. Mostly because it's so powerful. This is still showing up a little weird, but that's okay. Actually, I'm going to stop the screen share and bring it up the right way. But I bring that because it is so powerful. Because it was different. And there were nuances. And it was very intangible. And the way that he described, so now you get it. To sing it like this. He didn't say you have to. He didn't say, oh, everything's going to be terrible if you don't. But he just said, put this sentiment in your heart. I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, coming from the South and going to church, felt like he took me to church. Every time. Took me to church. That's your why. That's the difference between, I know we can. I know we're able to. It's a co-op. I've seen other co-ops. We have the model. It's around. It's something that's doable. To, we're going to do it, and here's why. What is your why? Who is your community, and what does your community need? Be honest. Be honest about if your community looks like every other co-op, then build a co-op that fits your community that looks like every other co-op. But if it doesn't, build something that helps you understand your why. Don't be shy about it. Your co-op, the unity of your co-op has the power to bring everything together. So I talk about products because I know me endorsing my products endorses my vendors, and it catalyzes local economies. It's my community. It's who I see when I go outside. It's when I go out and I talk to people and I say, what kind of tea do you buy? You know, somebody grows herbs and actually makes their own tea right down the street. And people say, I wish I knew that because I would buy that. And when people say, oh my goodness, all of these things are happening, you know, we had a local restaurant that caught on fire. And everybody says, what are you going to do? We're going to pull together and we're going to figure out a way that we can help them. We are that place. We are that gathering space. Represent the people that are in your community. So as you build, as you continue to build, it's also important to know you don't stop building once the doors open. please do not stop building once the doors are open, because you'll get stuck. And there is that competition. Everybody is coming for grocery, but you know what people need because you have the ability, you have the strength of the community, not just to say, this is all we have. This is all that we're going to do. You have the strength to say, hey, y'all, what do y'all want to eat? What do you want to see on your hot bar? What do you want to see on your salad bar? Will you even come in for a hot bar or a salad bar? Where do people get food now? Create that space where it looks like the people that are there, not the people that people say, yes, this is not what your formula looks like. I know that I have my issues sometimes with write-ups of what grocery stores can sell and who they're going to sell to. Everybody needs food, not deserves, but needs. Every day has every need for food and good food and jobs with good wages and good benefits and good partnerships, so that in these communities you can see yourself. It's not, yeah, I work at a grocery store. It's, I work at the co-op, so that everybody can now share the experience of, I remember when the co-op came and I really liked it. And they moved to other communities with co-ops that look like them, that look like their community. You don't have to drive very far to find this new co-op, and the co-op is not really what makes you feel comfortable. And if you don't find it, you build it, because that's exactly what happens when you're in a space and you say, you know what if we did this? And what if we get rid of our what if? Because everybody needs food. And now we're coming together, we're pulling it together to a space where my co-op now reflects me, and I love being there. It's one of the things that I will say, I was very surprised working at the co-op when people say, I love coming to the co-op. And I thought, you love going to a grocery store? That's weird. I didn't understand it. And then I worked there and I was like, oh, and I went to visit other co-ops and I was like, oh, I love your grocery store. Walking in, the music was there, the food was there, the people were happy. Like, I only wish y'all had couches instead of chairs, because it's just that nice. It's a co-op, and it's a gathering space, and it's a meeting space, and it's a safe space. And think of what that can do, especially to the members of the community that may not have that elsewhere. You have the ability to build that. So I'm going to put up my last slide, which is really just a picture that I just really actually love. But I'm also going to see if there are any questions. I talked a bit longer than I anticipated.
You're all good. You do have one question in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it off for you? Okay.
Yes.
Abe said, can you give your suggestions for addressing different needs and values from different stakeholder groups within your own co-op, particularly with hybrid co-ops, but also with diversity within the membership? How can we center the most affected by the decisions?
Oh, goodness. So
That's
I'll start
big.
with that. It's a big question. I'll start first with define diversity for me. If you are able to come off mute, or if you can put it in the chat.
Well, I mean, I think diversity is inevitable. We all have different sexual orientations, races, ethnicities, and you know, so and we have all our backgrounds from those, and the overlapping backgrounds from those, the intersection of them. So yeah, it's, I mean, I think we just have different backgrounds, you know.
So genuinely, it's just that. To me, when you say, how do you address it? You bring everybody into the same conversation. And in that conversation, you level set the norms. It's just that. Everybody gets a chance to speak. We're going to be respectful because everybody is different. That's just first and foremost. And the thing is, you do have different stakeholders. So, you know, we have worker owners, we also have consumer owners, and then we have non-owners. Non-owners want to speak as well. So who's in that conversation and who's at the table? So, you know, for us, a lot of times we have consumer owners that are very concerned with product, or they want us to take a stance on things. And then we have worker owners that are usually more concerned with things like staff treatment, wages, you know, different, how are we, when we talk expansion, what does that look like for them? What does their workday look like? So not to be too simple with it, it's listening to what people are saying and the people that want to be heard. I mean, I think that, you can come to the table and let's say you have a large decision in front of you and you say, we want to build a new store. And everybody comes to you and says, okay, this might make some sense. It doesn't make sense, but it's really coming together and saying, what are everybody's concerns? It's why you have a board. Your board comes together and says, we need to make a decision to move the co-op forward, but then also with other decisions such as, bathrooms. I know that's been a really big thing in North Carolina. What gendering bathrooms, how does that feel? How does that look? It's coming together. And it's also the responsibility of the co-op is to create that safe space for community. So sometimes you do have to take that stance of we're going to do what's going to be in the best interest of our members and our community, because we want everybody to come to the table and to feel protected. In that, and I'll say this is very DEI, it's also looking at who is your vulnerable population and making sure that they have a space where they can be open and you're not making them more vulnerable in that conversation. So you're not saying, everybody stop, we're going to listen to these people, but it's creating that norm. And really, I mean, I say it with new co-ops and I also say it with existing co-ops, that it's really a thing of you're never too late to create your culture. You're never too late to create that norm of everybody's going to talk, everybody's going to be heard, everybody's going to be listened to, and for the over talkers, there is going to be a point that we're just going to say, we're done with it. So there's a lot of cultural norms that I would suggest would need to go into it. If you haven't already kind of spoken on the DEI, the large term of it, what does it mean to have a diverse group in the room? Because diversity, and that's why I asked for the definition, a lot of people lead with race and gender. I do a lot of times in my conversations, and then going to other things. So we're also talking about when, maybe you're talking hours of a store and people say, there's no way that I can be at the store before 8 o'clock in the morning because I have kids and I want to make sure that they get on the bus. So now the diversity is scheduling. Some people may say, I don't have kids and I can be there all the time, but it's really coming together. It's doing what a cooperative is, not being kind of that very corporate structure of this is just what's going to happen and everybody's going to abide by it. But it's looking for how can you accommodate everybody? I wish I would have shared another video, but I have another video of about curbs and how they are curbed for everybody. And nobody really thinks about it. And it's really, their curbs are created for a vulnerable population, but nobody really notices. So it's creating those norms where nobody really notices. I mean, if you have soft lighting in all of your store for people that, just cannot deal with harsh lighting, do people really notice if it's the norm? You're doing it because you want everybody to feel comfortable. Good question. Yeah. I think I saw something about a hybrid co-op, but I think that was answered. Perfect.
Yeah, there was a question about what that meant.
Yeah. Any other questions? Maybe the first time ever that I've spoken and there were no resulting questions.
Oh. Abe has his hand up. Go ahead, Abe.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to say than to write it out. So Jessica Gordon-Nebhart, when she talks about DEI work, she talks about diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice in that order, to say like diversity is probably the least a co-op can do, and equity and justice are the most impactful. What are your thoughts on getting past the kind of, the starting points to more the equity and justice work in co-ops?
So getting past the idea that diversity is where to start, you mean?
Yeah, like how to do more equity internally and externally from the co-op to concerned community and within the membership, and justice as like, what is it that we really ultimately want to create,
So my first and last all the way through recommendation for everybody is hire a consultant. It's difficult. It's not easy work, and it's difficult also, and I don't just say this because this is what Weaver Street Market did. it's difficult to put the burden on the people that are trying to also receive the justice. So a lot of times I know when I've spoken to co-ops, they're like, yes, you know, we want to get people together, but we don't have Black and brown people that join the group. They probably don't want to talk to you about the things that they are experiencing every day because their paycheck depends on it. You also have a lot of people, and I will say, as myself, as a Black female, that are the only ones in the room. And every day is not the day to talk about justice and to prove to you that I am worthy of the work that you are trying to do. A lot of times it's easier to hear it from that outside voice and to even say diversity is not it. Because you can have a room full of very diverse people and you can still have a total lack of control of the diversity. So, you know, I've heard it so many times, especially when it comes to inclusion. It is about justice. I mean, it was said even earlier, it's about justice, and not just the justice since 2020 with George Floyd, and not just the justice that you've seen, and not just the justice of your lifetime. It's about hundreds of years of justice. And it is Black people, and it's disabled people, and it's trans people. So it's not just one ism that's there to be solved. It's the isms that exist that allow for a norm that we breathe in. So it's like a fish in water. A fish doesn't know that it's in water because that's all that it's lived in. So if you're living in a society and a culture where all that you've lived in has been white norms, the supremacy of what I do is right, you're not quite able more often than not to really have that conversation with one another to say, hey, this is very wrong. So as the world continues to evolve, and really as your community continues to evolve, there's no one book, there's no one podcast, there's no one movie, there's no one conversation, to be honest. It's really having that outside perspective to say, it's in the way that you wrote your policy. So it's the small and the large. It's the way that your job description says that you're required to smile. It's the way that your managers aren't being written up with the same frequency as everybody under them. It's the way that the temperature everywhere is so cold, but you've got somebody that says that they have medical differences. And so it's really difficult to be in this cold, closed-in environment. It's everything that you're doing in order to move past understanding it's not just about the diversity. Because if you invite me to a room and you haven't prepared the room for me, then it doesn't matter that it's now a diverse room. Which I oftentimes tell people, I will say, I just had that conversation where, you know, we're bringing in a new member to a team and nobody cleaned her office. I was like, this isn't what we're doing. That's not it. That's not how it happens. So my first recommendation, most definitely hire consultants. I have teams of people that I would love to refer you to. There are many people also in this conversation right now that can expound on exactly what I'm saying. It's very difficult to do on your own, but it's very important to do, especially as a cooperative. If you do say that you're including a community, understanding your community and the needs of your community, so that even when you're having these conversations, it's even coming to the point where you're saying, am I being respectful even in this conversation? Am I saying things unknowingly maybe that are just offensive? Or am I expecting something of people if I say, hey, what can we get for you? And maybe they're thinking, I don't really want to have this conversation. So I hope that was a little, just a tad kind of tip of the iceberg, but I definitely have more references. I have more information. I would absolutely love to share it with you. Yeah. Uh-oh, JQ, you're on mute.
I'm going to wrap us up so we end up on time, but I want us to take a moment to really thank Allanah for being here, for sharing her experience, her wisdom, and her knowledge. I will get those links from her and get them emailed out to you guys by Monday at the latest, but we are going to stop FCI living for a couple days around our office, so give me a few days, but we will get those from her and get those shared out. But real quick, I'm going to wrap this up a little bit, and then we might have a minute or two to talk after we wrap up. I just want to say, please do take the survey. The speakers really appreciate it. We appreciate it. It helps us keep this survey, or keeps the series free and really, we hope, relevant to your needs. It takes 1 minute. And thank you again to all of our FCI Live sponsors for FCI Live 2024. We have more sponsors than ever. Thank you for believing in what this is what this community and what the Start Food Co-op movement is doing and centering it and helping us make it possible.